Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Art of MMA. Of course, I'm Mike Ginn. That's the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, finally rocking his shirt if you haven't noticed. Today, we're going to be talking about a brief recap of UFC 270, everything that happened with that. Kind of leads us into our first segment with the Champions Clause. What is that? We'll explain it to you. We'll talk about it. We'll give our opinions on it. We've talked about it on the show before. Kind of going a little bit more in depth this time. We got some kind of interesting news with the possible return of the Blackzilians. If you aren't familiar, they kind of split apart. The founder passed away. Then they kind of turned into Sanford MMA. So Rashad Evans is talking about bringing that back. We'll talk about that. That also leads us into the rise of Eagle FC. Khabib's promotion's getting bigger. It's coming to America. What does that mean? And then we'll go ahead and make our picks. Your lead dog this year, will be making his picks for Bellator 273. And maybe the other guy might get a couple picks right as well. Of course, Ryan Bader versus Moldavsky. We'll talk about that. But, of course, this show on the Fighters First Network, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever we drop a new episode. And then head over to fightersfirst.shop, get the Art of MMA logo tee, get the Mechanic collection, support your boys, show some love, and get some really dope merchandise in the process. Fightersfirst.shop, where you can get all of that. Brandon, you ready to get this show started?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. Well, before we jump into our first segment, I got to get your thoughts, man. Huge event last weekend. What did you think of that Ngannou and Cyril Gane fight and just all the craziness about it?
Hey, man, it was a good fight. Saying that Ngannou really showed off his grappling skills. Like say, he's been working on it. Cyril Gane, man, to me, he looked good. Like the first two rounds played out how I thought the fight was going to go. Like I really thought Cyril Gane was going to be in and out. He was going to control Ngannou. He was going to lean on Ngannou, kind of force Ngannou, to kind of tire out his arms from like pummeling. Like I said, I thought Gane did take the first two rounds.
I don't think we saw like how the fight was supposed to play out though because of Ngannou's injury that we didn't know about. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think even if he had a regular hit, I think the same thing would happen where at least in the beginning where he was kind of still just following him around. Like he was really trying to not rush, trying to pace himself anyway. But kudos to Ngannou for coming back, especially that third and fourth round. And then the fifth round, man, like it really could have been Cyril Gane, but he sat back, he went for that heel hook, and then that's when Gane just got on top and controlled him for the rest of the fight. Like maybe like if he maybe didn't sit back for that heel hook, he maybe could have been Ngannou, but hey, like I say, shout outs for Ngannou, for fighting injured as well. Everything that he was dealing with. But yeah, man, hey, he's a champion and hopefully, he heals up and we'll see him again soon.
I had an off-air debate with somebody I'm not going to name, Dan Bakley, that he thought like the injury wasn't a big deal and Ngannou was kind of like exaggerating it and stuff like that. And he actually even thought Cyril Gane won the fight, which blew my mind because I thought the last three rounds were just clearly Ngannou, especially when he just laid on him for so much of the round. There's whether you count takedowns or not, just the pure control of the round had to go to Ngannou. And I thought the first round went to Ngannou too. I actually agreed with the 49-46 because I didn't think Cyril Gane did enough. And I thought Ngannou landed a couple more powerful combinations. But you could see Ngannou not being able to move left and right. And if you've ever torn up a knee, anybody knows that it affects you going more left and right than it does forward and backwards. So when you saw him come out with the knee pads, you saw him kind of like inching forward and backwards every time. It doesn't mean you can't do a slam. It doesn't mean you can't like muster up some energy. It just means it's going to hurt, but you can do it. And then on top of that, if anything showed me that his knee was really torn, was that heel hook, because that heel hook was locked in and Ngannou didn't even feel it. That tells me that thing was torn because if that thing pops, he's tapping immediately, right? But if it's already popped, he's not going to feel that at all. And when Cyril Gane had that heel hook locked in and he just turned on it like he didn't even feel it, that told me that knee was really popped because right then and there, he should have tapped and he didn't even feel it. He did not even feel the heel hook. So that tells me that his knee really was gone and he wasn't making it up. We had heard whispers that like 3 weeks ago he'd hurt himself and nobody really knew because no camp was saying anything. We know that this all is kind of like a big blow up behind the scenes. We'll talk about it in the next segment with the Champions Clause. But Brandon, where was Dana White? Like, is Dana all up in his feelings? What's going on? He had Mick Maynard put the belt on. He didn't show up for the post-fight press conference. What's up with Dana?
Don't know. Don't care, man. I don't care.
Is this Tyrone Woodley part 2 where he's making the mean mug in the back of the picture? Remember
Probably.
that?
I mean, hey, man, you know, it's not. This isn't the first time where he hasn't put the belt on somebody. Where he has missed the press conference. You know, nothing's came up. Like, say, hey, you never know. Maybe he could have got sick. Maybe he could have had a family emergency or something. But you know, it is what it is. You know, man.
I don't think any of that's the case because he came out like the next day talking about Conor McGregor's return in the summer. No. Like, so he's clearly alive. Like, he's still around. Mm-hmm. I think he's just all up in his feelings because if we're being honest, he had his money, just like he had his money on Ngannou last year against Stipe because he was ready to move on from the Stipe era. He had his money on Cyril Gane because the negotiations with Ngannou aren't going well. Ngannou's turned down roughly like $7 million to basically fight out his contract. And he even roughed through an injury because he did not want to postpone. Because if he pulled out this injury, they could add time on his contract. So he fought through it, whether he won or lost, because he was fighting for something more than just this fight. He was fighting for his contractual freedom because he has a 5-year mandatory limit on his contract. So we'll talk about that next segment. And the only other thing I'll mention on that card, because it was a fantastic card, I was right, but I was wrong, Brandon. I feel like Moreno won that fight, even if I did pick Figueiredo. Hell of a close fight to score. Who'd you think won that fight?
It was a close fight. I mean, hey, my thing is Figgy did his thing. You know, he changed up his style. You know, hanging out with Henry Cejudo. I think the thing with Moreno was just, man, he stood still too long. Saying Brandon Moreno is a counter puncher, and Deiveson Figueiredo in the beginning would just come out guns a-blazing. But hanging out with Henry Cejudo, he was a little bit calm. He was using those calf kicks, using those leg kicks. So I think that kind of threw Moreno off. And like I said, Moreno was kind of just standing around waiting for Figueiredo to get his offense going so he can counter it. But Figgy really wasn't throwing that much. And then it's saying, and the other 3 fights, this third fight the most, that's where Deiveson Figueiredo had threw the most leg kicks.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think most of us agree that Figueiredo probably won the first fight if it wasn't for the point deduction that made it a draw. Second fight, Moreno left no doubt. Third fight, you know, kind of a different Figueiredo. He had some of the same tendencies, obviously. Henry Cejudo helped a lot. Also, to go out how much of a prick Dana White is, there's a picture of like him and Henry talking in the cage, and he basically had his hand behind Henry's neck, like kind of sunning him. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, stop being a big shot. Stop trying to like be over everybody. Give Henry a fight. But that's a different subject for a different time. I think there's going to be a fourth fight. I think Figueiredo came out today and said whatever fight makes the most money. I don't think a fight makes more money than that in the Brandon Moreno, especially when Moreno brings that huge crowd from Mexico. So I think we're going to see a fourth one. Wouldn't be surprised if we see it as early as this summer. So we'll see. UFC 270 was an awesome card. Great weekend of fights. Glad to be in the leaders box. Of course, the one fight I picked up on my own, Turman versus Vieira, got canceled right after the show like it always does. Brandon won his fight pick, but he lost the other 2. So lead dog, at least for 1 week.
I mean, hey, that's how it started last year, man. You were
lead dog for like half the year, and then it just went. Yeah. All right, let's jump into this show. Segment 1, we're talking about the Champions Clause. What is it? What does it mean for MMA contracts? Well, there's 2 versions of this. We talked about a lot last year when your boy, AJ McKee, knocked off Patricio Pitbull. That was the last fight on his contract. Bellator has a Champions Clause in their contract. Means that you got to fight either 3 more fights or 1 year, whichever comes up first before you become a free agent. AJ's stuck in limbo. We haven't seen him get a fight announced. They've talked about him maybe fighting Patricio Pitbull. They've talked about a rematch with Patricio, even down in Brazil. Obviously, COVID has messed up a lot of stuff, a lot of travel plans. So we haven't seen what's next for AJ. There's also some contenders, like we've even heard of Aaron Pico and some other names get thrown in there to maybe fight him. But nothing has been concrete, so he's still waiting. He should be a free agent, but he's not. They haven't really renegotiated a new contract with him. So there's that side of it. This last weekend, we just saw Francis Ngannou. His contract is up at the end of the year. He signed what has been changed. So in 2017, they changed the contracts in UFC to what they call five-year max. It was kind of a whole change in scenery because of the antitrust lawsuits that Kung Lee and a lot of those other former fighters brought against the UFC. There's two lawsuits. There's the Kung Lee lawsuit before 2017 that goes up 2017. And then there's one after 2017 that involves not Court McGee. Slipping my mind right now. But either way, the contracts have been changed to where now there is a champion. No, it wasn't John Fitch. That was in the Kung Lee one. I have to look it up. I just had it too. I'm sorry, fans at home. I messed that one up. But basically, long story short, there's a 5-year max now. If it's like a 3-year or shorter deal, the Champions Clause kicks in to where 1 year or 3 fights. That's where the big dispute on this one is, because Dana's like, you're the champion, you have to at least defend it for another year, or so on and so forth after the December deadline of his contract. Well, Ngannou signed in December 2017, December 2022. He will be a free agent if he sits out the rest of this year. Now, a lot of people are thinking, oh, that's a long time to sit out. But as he said in the post-fight press conference, he's only fought 3 times in the last 3 years. So what's the big deal for him to sit out for the year? He's left up to like $7 million on the table from contract negotiations that he could have had going into this fight, where he only made $600,000. And I know people at home are like, $600,000 is a lot of money. But he's the heavyweight champion of the world. Parallel that Tyson Fury, who made $30 million for his last fight. And we could go into a whole nother conversation about fighter pay. We've talked about it a number of times. But the entire UFC 270 card made a total of $1.8 million. Tyson Fury made $30 million on his last fight alone. Now, this pay-per-view only did about 200,000 buys, I think I've heard. But even that is about $15 million. That's not counting the live gate. That's not counting the ESPN and the other sponsorship money that they get from like Monster and crypto and everything else. But the conversation is the Champions Clause. And I've gone on record a number of times, Brandon, of saying I think it should be illegal. These people are independent contractors, just like in wrestling, WWE, like how they hold people 90 days after they cut them. If you're an independent contractor, by rule, you should be able to come and go as you see fit. You're not under contract. They're not giving you health care benefits. They're not taking care of you in any other way other than allowing you to fight for their promotion. It's one side. Brandon, give me your thoughts on the whole Champions Clause. I know we talked to it to death, but what are your thoughts of it? And what are your thoughts of it as it relates to, like, specifically Francis Ngannou now and even your boy, AJ McKee?
Hey, man, you having a Champions Clause so you don't freaking end up like the WWE did back in the day when Medusa showed up on WCW Nitro and she dumped her championship belt. That's what it is. You don't want that to happen. You don't want your champion to leave. So you either try to have him. To me, the championship clause gives the promotion a little more time to negotiate, to try to work things out. But then also too, you're still paying that fighter anyway. To me, the thing, like, we go back with AJ McKee. Sorry, my guy.
I thought that was your guy. What's
exactly.
going on?
Exactly. My agent McKee. The thing is with him is just like, I think they're just trying to figure out what fight they want to make. Like, say, if they were going to do it with Patricio Pitbull, I think they want to do that fight in Brazil. But I don't know if he wants to go to Brazil for it. So I just think I
know he said he'd fight anyway, but
yeah. So I just think they're going back with that. Now the thing with Ngannou is he already hurt his knee, so most likely he's done for the year anyway. Which is kind of what he said after on the post fight with Joe Rogan. He's like, yeah, I tore my MCL, ACL, and everything like that. So I mean, he's gonna be out for a while anyway. But to me, like I said, I think, and you just have a championship clause because you just don't want the person to win your belt and then they become a free agent and then they might leave and then boom, now you don't have a champion anymore. Then you gotta have you have somebody else just fight for the belt again. So to me, the championship clause is just to kind of help the promotion either continue negotiations, but also too to make sure that the champion doesn't leave with the belt.
Do you feel? And I'm not even going to lead you on this question. I want to get your honest opinion. Do you feel that is unfair or fair? Because I know how I feel about it, but do you think that's fair for the fighters, fair for the promotion? Like, how do you feel about that?
Hey man, I think it's fair. To me, man, if you are to me, man, if you're the fighter, nobody's making you fight for the title. You know that the championship clause is coming. So to me, is either take another fight, don't fight for the belt, and then after you take your fight, you're a free agent, do what you want to do. But to me, it's like, it's coming. So to me, it's like,
don't. What if you're already champion?
Huh?
Like in this case, Ngannou is already champion. What about that?
But then to me, if he is the champion, and like he already is the champion, then to me there is no championship clause for him. Then it's it. It's the end of the year.
I mean, that's the biggest debate right now. Yeah, that's the biggest debate right now. Is like whether he really is a free agent at the end of the year. Dana thinks he has more time on his contract. Ngannou's camp says no. Ngannou, for his part, is fighting for more than just the money because he feels so disrespected. We go back to a year ago, I guess March of last year, right, when he beat Stipe. And literally, 4 or 5 months later, they're having an interim title fight.
Yep.
When before the heavyweight championship was barely defended once a year. Mm-hmm. And now 4 or 5 months. Why? Because Ngannou didn't want to rush back from Africa, rush into a training camp, and hop into a cage with a very dangerous fighter, Derek Lewis. He won in September or October. What was the big deal pushing it back 2 months? So obviously there was bad blood there from the very beginning because otherwise they wouldn't have had the interim title fight. They had every intention of pushing Derek Lewis or Cyril Gane as the next guy, and they wanted to push Ngannou out the door because they couldn't negotiate with him. He wanted his free agency. He wanted to be able to do things in and outside of the UFC. I don't think he actually wants to leave the UFC. I think he wants to do other things like box Tyson Fury and make that big payday the way Conor did with Floyd. He wants the payday. Every fighter deserves to be paid. You say it yourself. You're prize fighters. Mm-hmm. You deserve to be paid. If you are a fighter, I mean, I do agree with you that if you're going like an AJ McKee went into the Grand Prix Championship and into the final, he knew that was the last fight on his contract. But he had also already started the process. So I don't know if that really fits. That said, though, these promotions have a long time to negotiate before they even get to that final fight. And if a fighter is at that point that they want to be free, then I think you should let them, because unlike the WWE or any other wrestling promotion, the difference is that every championship is considered individually a championship in MMA, right? Like now, for instance, Ngannou is a 2-time champion, right? Because he has 2 belts, right? Whereas the WWE, it's 1 belt and you just hold it for a certain amount of days. So, for instance, Ngannou isn't the champion anymore. He leaves the promotion. Then whoever's fighting is fighting for the championship, whether he's part of that fight or not. So I think it's a little different because of the way they handle it. I think it's stupid. I think if you're a champion, you're a 1-time champion until you lose it. You're a 2-time champion until you lose it. That's how I look at it, but I also grew up as a wrestling fan.
Yep, that's how I look at it too.
The way they do it, I don't understand it. Like I think it was your girl Juliana Pena. She was just doing a show not too long ago, and she was talking about how she didn't know if she should let people hold the belt. A lot of people want to take pictures of the belt. She's like, but after my next fight, I'll get another belt anyway. So this is just like the starter belt. And it's like they give them a new belt every single time.
Yep.
And that kind of, to me, like defeats the purpose of being a champion, because really you're a champion for a night. Because the next championship fight, somebody else is getting a brand new belt, whether it's you or the opponent. So I think that's a little weird too. So that kind of throws a little water on the champions clause as well with me. But I do get the promotion wanting to control the situation. Obviously, that's the whole point of having promotion, that you sign up to a big promotion. You're not an independent fighter. You're not like boxing where you fight whoever, whenever you want. I know the commissions have a lot to do with that in boxing. But when it comes to MMA, it's always been kind of promotionally run. I wish they would unionize. I wish the fighters would unionize and they could sit there and pick and choose where they fight. Hey, UFC has an event this week. Let me go fight in that event. And then let me fight at PFL next month. Like, if that's what I want to do. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works in MMA. They're more wrestling-like, as much as their fans like to hate it. And they are promotionally run, not run by like an agent or a manager, and the fighters are their own promotion, kind of like a Floyd Mayweather. That doesn't work in MMA. It's just not the way it's run. And that's also why they have television contracts and other things as well nowadays too. So it helps each other. But obviously we know UFC should pay their fighters more pay. But I think the Champions Clause needs to go away, because at the end of the day, a contract is a contract. If you tell me I'm signed for 5 years, at the end of 5 years, it doesn't matter where I am. I should be able to go do what I want to do.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is the end of the 5 years. Like I said, 2017, 2022. So that's why at the end of this year, they're like, "Hey, I'm a free agent."
Yep, and that's why Dana's all up in his feelings.
Yep.
All right, well, that's that. Let's go ahead and move on a little bit. Got some really cool news this week. Rashad Evans, we'll talk about it coming up soon with Eagle FC down in Miami this weekend. But Rashad Evans is making his return to the cage. In the interview circles, as he was going through all the interviews for Fight Week, came up some pretty cool news. Now, we know Glenn Robinson passed away a few years ago, who was one of the co-founders with Rashad Evans and some other people to found Blackzilians. Big famous fight group, obviously, Anthony Johnson, Alistair Overeem, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort. The list goes on, and Kamaru Usman. The list goes on and on. Now, when that fight team kind of imploded, because they really did have like a big implosion, like they all like hated each other for a little while. A lot of them went to Sanford MMA. A couple of them drizzled down the top team, but most of them stayed at Sanford. Some did their own thing. Then about a year later, Glenn Robinson lost his life, took his life. The situation is kind of cloudy, but Glenn Robinson passed away. And then now all of a sudden Rashad Evans is getting that itch. You know, he's like 41, 42. He kind of wants to get another fight under his belt. Khabib is bringing Eagle FC to Miami. And now the news comes out. He wants to get the gang back. He wants to be the head coach. He wants to run it all. He wants to control it all. Does that excite you? Does that get you like pumped up for it? Or do you even care at this point because it's been so long?
I mean, hey, it's always good to have good coaching. I mean, if that's what he wants to do, awesome. But how many people are going to come back? Because like you said, really everybody went to Sanford MMA because Henry Hoof, he was their striking coach for the Blackzillians. And then he left and it became Hard Knocks 365. And then Hard Knocks 365 then became Sanford MMA. So, I mean, hey, Rashad Evans, he did an amazing job when he was the coach on the Ultimate Fighter. So, I mean, he definitely does have the knowledge, to drop, and I'm sure, having his good buddy Tyrone Spong with him there, who also, of course, is a great striker. The dude can box, can kickbox.
We'll talk about him in just a minute too. So.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, it'll be cool, but let's see what happens, because I think really another one of their, I guess you want to say he was their jiu-jitsu coach was I want to say George Santiago, who now is really one of the main coaches at Sanford MMA. So is he going to leave Sanford MMA to go back with the Blackzillians or what? So that's why it's just one of those things. Like, and also too, where is going to be the training facility? Is it still going to be in Florida? Is it going to be in the same place? Did he take over? Is he opening up? Is he opening up a new spot? But I mean, hey, man.
From what I understand, it will be in South Florida.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, if they come back, it's always good to have good minds in the world of martial arts. So I mean, hey, I'm all for it if they open back up. Hey, you never know. Maybe Amanda Nunes is leaving ATT to go join them.
Also, I'll throw another name out there. Kamaru Usman's kind of a free agent when it comes to camps now. Ever since that Gilbert Burns thing, he's kind of been splitting his time between Sanford and Trevor Whitman. Maybe even he teams up with Trevor Whitman. I mean, there's a whole thing there too. I mean, obviously Whitman's got his whole thing in Colorado. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of names, especially when you have a Hall of Famer like Rashad Evans starting something. People want to be a part of that. Blackzillians were the cool kids, right? Like everybody wanted to be a part of the Blackzillians for a little while. You still have people like Vitor Belfort that's kind of self-training himself. So I'm sure he could come back if he wants to. Overeem's kind of flirting with doing that kickboxing fight eventually with Rico, if that ever comes to happen. So those people all need places to train, and they're all friends with Rashad Evans. Anthony Rumble Johnson, he could probably come back if he wants to. And then I'm sure they'll come up with a bunch of young fighters that want to learn from a UFC Hall of Famer. That carries a lot of weight when you're going to a gym. Where are you going to go to a gym? Henry Hooft is a world-class striking coach. But Rashad Evans is a UFC Hall of Famer. I want to get to the UFC. Now, I'm sure he'll have a string of coaches, the next Henry Hooft, the next Santiago. A lot of those guys came out of nowhere to begin with. They made their name for themselves with the Blackzillians and then moved up the food chain, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm excited by it. I think another team down in South Florida, though, especially the way American Top Team is kind of imploding right now, they're not much farther behind. Dan Lambert's spending half his time in AEW and less time. Junior DeSantis is running off. Maybe he's going to do bare knuckle boxing. There is. I
think he is doing a bare knuckle fight.
I don't know if it's official or not.
Is it a triad? Or is it a Triller triad fight?
Oh yeah, he's doing the Triller thing. Yeah, that's what he's doing, the triad. Amanda just left the camp. Kayla's a free agent, flirting with which team she's going to sign with. Kobe got obviously pushed out with the whole Masvidal situation. So really, it's just American Top Team / Jorge Masvidal's camp at this point.
Hey, Dustin Poirier, my guy. Don't forget about the Diamond.
I was going to say Mike Brown and Dustin Poirier, and that's I was getting ready to go there. You cut me off, but those are like the two big guys, like Masvidal and Poirier. with Kayla. But if Amanda's leaving, is Kayla staying? Who's she going to train with? What other women are going to be there that are strong enough and big enough to go toe-to-toe with her to give her a challenge, to make her better? Like we always say, iron sharpens iron. So I don't know if any of those people will go to Blackzilians if they restart. I don't know if Blackzilians will 100% restart. The idea was thrown in the air. Rashad Evans seems like he's all about it. He wants to do it his way, control it from the ground up so there's no mistakes this time. More power to him. I think it's awesome. I hope it comes to play. I don't even like Rashad Evans. If y'all follow this show, you follow Art of MMA. I haven't been a fan of his for a very long time because he kind of big-nosed me, big-headed me a long time ago. He's BS'd me on interviews a couple times, some other stuff back with Art of MMA. So I kind of took it personal in the early years when I was kind of a little younger and a little bit more immature. Nowadays, I'm kind of rooting for him. I think it's a great story. Still not best friends, Rashad. Sorry. But, if he wants to come on the show and make it up to me. Anyway, that's that. I'm excited about the Blackzilians possibly coming back. But that leads us into our next segment, the rise of Eagle FC. Now, this is Eagle FC 44. They've done 43 events before this. All of them have been in Russia. Khabib is bringing it to America. Miami's going to be their new home base. They're starting off this weekend on Friday, January 28th. It's going to be your boy Tyron Spong making his third MMA appearance against Sergey Kartinov. Tyron Spong is 2-0. If you remember back in the day at World Series of Fighting, he was kind of one of their big transition fighters that Ray Steffel brought in. He made a good impact. That was over at light heavyweight. He hurt his knee or something, I believe, right, Brandon?
Yeah, he had an injury, yeah.
Yeah, he had a big injury. It kind of wiped him out of MMA for a while. And when he came back, he focused back only on kickboxing. That said, I mean, this fight card has Rashad Evans. It has Ray Borg. It has John Howard, a bunch of former UFC fighters, Jorgen De Castro's on there, some young up-and-coming fighters, some Russian fighters. It has a good mix, but it's headlined by Tyron Spong. Tyron is 36. Tyron's 36. He's not, young by any means, but he still has a lot left in the tank at 36, especially at heavyweight. He's got to be way faster than any other heavyweight, I could only imagine. And we know he's deadly with those kicks. Brandon's kickboxing expert. He can probably go on and on about Tyron Spong. Are you excited about Eagle FC? Do you think it poses at least not a threat to UFC, but more of a regional threat, like kind of the way CFFC does in the Northeast, the way,
Titan does down there?
Titan. Yeah, I was going to say Titan FC, LFA, some of these other promotions that are kind of having this nice regional. Do you think Eagle FC could kind of develop that and maybe even one day be like a PFL or Bellator?
I mean, I could really probably see Eagle FC kind of more being like the lower tier, like we said, like an LFA, a CFFC. But I think it's really more for Khabib to get more of his guys on there. So I think just
he said Dana, he's coming. So
yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I think I can't remember exactly how it is that you can watch it, but
it's
free.
I think
exactly. I think
it's free on their website.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's on a free website, but I believe you have to sign up for it though. So I don't really know too much about that, but
that's actually just smart though, because then they get everybody on their email newsletter so they can start sending out.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, we shall see what happens. You gotta see if people pick up on it. Like saying, you're being down in Florida. Hey, it being down in Florida. Hey, in Florida, there are a lot of things to do down there. So you got to make sure you got something that's going to grab them because, hey, the weather's always nice. You always got beaches. You always got clubs. That's why usually sometimes most really like kind of sporting events, they're kind of a little light, because attendance people are all over the place. But, like saying, hey, man, I hope it does well because, like I said, you need competition. If they're paying fighters well, that's a place for fighters to go to that will get compensated well, unless you're Kevin Lee and you wanna get paid in Bitcoin like OBJ did.
That hasn't worked out so far so well. I told people, I said, watch out for it. They're starting to tax it. It's going to drop.
Yeah.
Nobody listens to me. Nobody. I know a few things, people. I know a few things. Mainly because I watch way too much news. So that's a different subject. I don't think we have a crypto show on the network yet. But Kevin Lee has done a few things differently throughout his life and his career. So I'll leave it up to that. But yeah, you can watch that free this Friday night. I believe you just go to their website. I'm sure if you Google it, all the links will come up for that one. But I'm excited. It's free. It's free MMA on a Friday night. Down in Miami, there's not much going on in January anyway, other than the Miami Heat. So obviously the Dolphins are gone. No Miami Hurricanes. The Marlins don't start until February, March.
Dang, bro. You're going to diss the Florida Panthers like that? Dude, they're like the number one hockey team. Oh, that's when you're going to tell me they don't actually play in Miami.
No, I wasn't going to say that at all because actually they think they do play at American Airlines Arena. But no, I just didn't. Most people in Miami don't care about hockey. People in Tampa do. Like the Lightning is a big deal. But in Miami, they've never really supported the Panthers. Never. Like
they were in the Stanley Cup final in 1996.
Yeah, and they barely sold any tickets then either. Funny enough, like to get sidetracked for a second, when I lived in Raleigh for a couple years, when the Carolina Hurricanes came down there, another city that didn't know anything about hockey, they sold out every single game, and they went to the Stanley Cup Finals too because they got so much support. So it's a different world. Tampa Bay Lightning get a lot of support and love down here mainly because they've won 2 championships in a row. And the more, people jump on the bandwagon. The more you win, the more people care. But the Panthers, not so much. So could people come out to Eagle FC 44 this weekend? Maybe. It's a Friday night. It's not even a Saturday. I'm not sure where they're holding the event. I think it might be Seminole Hard Rock. Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I thought that's where it was. But.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a casino. They might get some extra flow that way as well. Actually, no, it's the FLX Cast Arena in Miami, who also kind of coincidentally is that's where the website to stream it is on FLX. So, yeah, it's FLX Cast Arena, which I'm not even sure where that is in Miami. I'm sure some more local people will probably tell you. I'm looking at a map right now. I think it's somewhere north of downtown, north of Bayside, close to the water. So, heavily trafficked area. People will know. There you go.
Sorry,
that is on the fly. On the fly improvisation there. There you go. That's why I'm the host and not Brandon. I'm just kidding. All right, you ready to make some picks before we get on out of here so the lead dog can keep his status for one more week?
Sure, man. I'm ready to get my picks right this time.
This time. All right. Bellator 273 in action this weekend. We got a heavyweight title unification bout between Ryan Bader and Valentin Moldavsky. One interim champion, one current champion. Obviously, Ryan was tied up in the Grand Prix, the 205 Grand Prix for a while. Moldavsky got the interim title. Now they're unifying it. It's going to be taking place in Ryan's backyard in Phoenix, Arizona. Who you got in this one and why?
Hey, man, I know Ryan Bader. He's going to be home in Arizona, and I know he's the current champ, but I think he's taking this L. I think Moldavsky's just going to probably just ragdoll him. I think he's going to be able to out-wrestle him, and he's going to be able to control him. And also, too, man, he does got some pop in his hands as well. So if Ryan Bader wants to try to stand and bang, he might get clipped.
I'm going the opposite way. I'm taking Ryan Master Bader. Yeah, I said it, Master Bader. He wants to be called that. That's what I'm gonna call him, Mr. Ryan Master Bader. He thinks it's funny. I think it's funny too. I'm taking Ryan Bader. For one, Valentin's not a big heavyweight. He walked in at 234 last time. Ryan Bader says he walks around 230. The one thing he loves about fighting about heavyweight is he doesn't have to cut weight. He can keep his health. He can keep his strength. And he doesn't have to travel. It's in his backyard. Valentin went the distance with Tim Johnson. He went the distance with an aging Roy Nelson. Went the distance with Ayala. He hasn't stopped a person since 2018, and that was Ernest James. Ryan Bader, he's been stuck in some tough fights. Obviously, he had Corey Anderson who knocked him out. Nemkov knocked him out. But those are faster fighters. He beat Machida. He had the weird thing with Czech Congo. And then he knocked out Fedor. I think Ryan Bader at heavyweight is a different fighter. I think he's a more comfortable fighter. I think as long as he's not fighting a 260-pound heavyweight, I think if he's fighting those guys around 220, 230, I think he has the advantage. So I'm taking Ryan Bader in this one. I think he'll get the win. I think it'll probably be ground out to a submission or decision. I don't think it'll be a knockout, but we will see. Over the co-main event, we got Vincent Henderson versus Islam Mammadov. Who you got in that one?
And I'm a Benson Henderson fan, but I got him taking the L as well, man. He just hasn't looked right, man. Especially man, his last fight. It was like, man, like that was the fight, like that was your get right
he had
fight.
his moments against Primus,
but he didn't get right, man. To me that was his get right fight. He didn't get right. I just think he's gonna keep taking these L's. Hey, he's home as well in Arizona as well. You know, the MMA lab is out there, but I don't think he's taking it.
I'm torn on this one because, yeah, he's been on a losing streak, but he's fought 3 killers in a row. He's fought Michael Chandler, former champion. He fought Jason Jackson, who might be a future champion, and then fought Brett Primus, another former champion. So he hasn't taken easy fights. I mean, he beat Miles Jury before that. He won 4 in a row before that one, and then the 2 losses before that are Patricky, Pitbull, and Michael Chandler. So his losses are all to champions or former champions. So that's kind of hard to judge Benson, but he is 38. He is fighting a very tough 21-1 Islam Mammadov, who his only loss, you have to go all the way back to his second fight ever in 2009. He had a majority draw in his PFL fight against Loic back in 2019. And then he only had a split decision win against Brett Primus. So it wasn't like he took Brett completely out. And that was a very debatable decision too, because if you remember us talking about that on the show last year, I said how Brett was trying to do all these things from the bottom and he didn't get any credit for it. And you talked about how Islam had the control. He was on top. And I was like, but yeah, Brett was going for submission. Islam just laid there. I think this is the same fight. I think Benson will be going for submissions from the bottom and doing some other thing. I think Islam's wrestling will get him to the ground. But I'm actually thinking Benson's going to win this one. I think Benson's desperate. I think if that's the kind of fight he fights, I think Benson is a better jiu-jitsu guy than Brett Primus. I think Brett just had better positions in that fight they had last time. But that was a very back-and-forth fight that him and Benson had. So I'm going to take Benson Henderson this one. Who is your fight pick to watch this fight card?
I've actually picked this guy before, so I'm picking him again. I'm going with the Lucas Brennan versus Benjamin Lugo fight, and I got Lucas Brennan taking it.
That's going to be a very interesting fight. Why do you think Lucas is going to take this one?
Hey, man, I kind of just like, I like his style. You know, he's slick. Also, I want to say he is a lefty as well, I believe. I think he's a southpaw. So, that always kind of throws people off as well. So I just think he's going to be able to get his hand raised.
I saw Ben Lugo fight last summer towards the end. He lost like a majority decision. But he has a very weird style. Like he's very unorthodox, kind of herky-jerky. So it could be something Brennan hasn't seen. But I think Brennan's kind of the prospect on the rise, and Lugo's kind of more the journeyman. So you're probably right in that one. My fight to watch is kind of another kind of guy like that. Weber Almeida. He's been kind of Lyoto Machida's kind of protege. He's getting up there in age. He's in his 30s now. The protege kind of thing is kind of going out the window. He lost his last fight. He's fighting a very tough Fabricio Franco, who's 8-4. This is Almeida's kind of make or break. Like he had 5 easy fights, and then when he fought somebody tough, he lost. He spent a long time doing jiu-jitsu and some other stuff, so he only came over to MMA late anyway. Weber Almeida has to win this fight. He has to win this fight to be either considered a contender or a pretender. I think he's a contender. I think he'll win this fight. I think it's kind of set up for his success. But I think it's a fight to watch because we know how crowded that featherweight division is in Bellator. And if he doesn't step up this fight, he'll never make that listing with AJ, Pico, and all those guys that are fighting for that top spot. Weber Almeida will be forgotten if he doesn't win this fight. So that's my fight pick on that one. Got some other great fights on that card. Dalton Roaster's going to be fighting Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Not that Rock, the other Rock. Chris Gonzalez versus Saad Awad.
Yeah, that should be a good one. That should be a real good one.
Darian Caldwell versus Enrique Barzola. Henry Corrales is back in action against Aiden Lee. And then, of course, the big guys, Hamasi and Jaleel Willis, are going to let it bang. So that's going to be a fun card. That's taking place on the 29th, this Saturday night. Bellator 273, Ryan Bader versus Moldavsky. So that's that. Brandon, anything else you want to talk about this week before we take off?
Man, just, hey, guys, get the merch, baby. Get the merch.
Funny enough, I was wearing a Fighters First shirt before the show, and I was like, maybe I should put my Art of MMA shirt on. I was like, so I did it. But that said, head over to FightersFirst.shop. Get the Mechanic Collection. He's putting in work. I hear a fight might be coming up soon this year. Fingers crossed. This time I think it's going to be in a much more friendly state. So we'll hope that comes to play. Get your Mechanic Collection. Go ahead and support your boy in the second place picks guy this year so far. I got to take it while I can get it because it might not last very long. This might be the week I lose it right off the bat. We completely disagreed with every pick, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
There we go again. All right, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Art of MMA. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button. Hit that bell so you never miss an episode. And pay attention to the Fighter First Network. We got a lot of great shows on there. Cage My IQ. We're going to come through with another Battleground soon, so don't worry about that. We just put another episode of Slamtown out. Crossing Borders is off this week, but that will be back next week. Got a new episode of Brandon and Tim's Kicking It. That will be coming out tomorrow. So pay attention to everything. We're putting out great content. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you buy a shirt. Support your boys. I need the money. I'm going broke. Help me. Now, I'm kind of kidding. I'm not really kidding too much. Definitely support everything. If you like what we're doing, don't just do it for doing. If you like it, buy it. We try to put out really good content, really good shirts. We don't just want people supporting us because it's us. We want you supporting it because it's really cool stuff. So go ahead and head over to the shop. Maybe you'll find something you like. FightersFirst.shop. This is Art of MMA. I'm Mike Ginn. That's the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. We'll see who the lead dog is next week. But for now, we're out.